Hi, my name is Sean Hatton, and I work at UC San Diego as part of the Adolescent Brain and Cognitive Development Study. I work in the Data Analysis Center and closely work with the Coordinating Center. And today I'll be talking about some of the new features of the data release coming out in summer 2020. Today's presentation will be a brief overview of ABCD study for those that are not familiar with it. And then really the majority will be talking about the new elements of data release 3 and then what's next. I want to acknowledge that all this is not my work. It's a work of thousands of people within the ABCD consortium. And I'm just lucky enough to be able to present this to the wider scientific community. So the ABCD study started several years ago where we got 12,000 children from across America, ages 9 to 10, across 21 US sites, and we assessed them longitudinally for up to 10, for going for 10 years. So the assessments are between 3 to 6 months assessments, and then biannually we have an MRI and biospecimens collected. All the data is publicly available at the NIH Data Archive at that website listed there. What do we collect? We collect a lot. So I don't have time to talk about every single thing that we collect here for the baseline assessment. Please pause the video if you would like to peruse this. But as you can see, there's a lot of dimensionality between physical health, brain imaging, genetics, cognition, mental health, substance use, etc., etc. For people who need a primer on the ABCD study, I recommend they go to this website for the presentation we gave in Rome last year on data release 2, which is 3.5 hours on really explaining the previous slide. And we are also recording an update to a researcher's guide to data release 3 in a few weeks' time, so that may be available in July, but it'll be available through human brain mapping shortly. So just to orient people, we are now in release 3 in the middle of your slide here, where we have the non-imaging follow-up information up to 30 months, and we have the imaging for baseline and half of the second year follow-up. So what's new in this data release 3? Starting off with some questionnaires, we have highly requested school attendance and grades information, both from the parents and the youth, a Mexican-American cultural values assessment for both the parents and the youth, or the caregiver and the youth, and then an occupation survey of the caregiver. One exciting new platform that we're providing now is mobile technology assessments. And we're piloting 2 different platforms, the effortless assessment of risk states and the Vibrant platform for assessing mobile phone usage, as in the activity, how long they're on the phone and when they're off. So it's not invading their privacy, but more of a passive way of noticing how they're using their phone. Yeah, so we're assessing 2 different platforms to see which one gives us the best bang for our buck, or what is the most useful for the scientific community. The Fitbit activity data in the last release was a kind of a beta analysis with very raw information. We have now formalized that into a lot more cohesive summaries, especially the physical and sleep summaries for both daily and weekly activities. And it's been really popular with the participants. We've added a sleep questionnaire on how the individual is sleepy or attentive during the morning or evening to identify circadian topology. For social adjustment, we have the social influence summary score, which is actually a cognitive task measuring peer influence on risk perception, which is done by the youth. The caregivers providing more information on community cohesion within the neighborhood that they live. And then the peer experiences questionnaire is questioning the youth as to whether they experience or perpetrated victimization. Following on from that, we have the youth peer behavior profile for pro-social and delinquent behavior. A summary score of a game of dice to assess risk-taking. The Youth Peer Network Health Protective Scalar, which is relates to how 3 peers close to the youths helps in protective behaviour against substance use. We've added cyberbullying as whether the youth has experienced or perpetrated cyberbullying in the past year. And then the gender identity and sexual health study survey. For physical health, we've now added blood pressure, blood analysis, as well as an adolescent pain questionnaire. We're also assessing from the food intake what food groups they're eating to make it easier to assess what food groups they're eating. And this is added to the other anthropometric data that's already provided. We've completed geocoding on the current addresses. So what we're getting from the participants is from their zip code being able to determine publicly available information on air pollutants, traffic counts, the urban category, and basically a lot about where they live, the passive information that we can obtain through government agencies. The geocode is not shared, the zip code is not shared, so we've maintained the anonymity or the anonymousness of participants. We're just providing the context of the environment that they live in. For genetics, there's a lot more improvements. We've improved in quality of the data. The imputation has improved multi-ethnic references, especially to Hispanic groups, which is a large component of the ABCD study. We're reporting copy number variations and genetic ancestry. And also we've improved the zygosity calls for twins, because twins are really important in release 3. I'll get to that in a moment. For neuroimaging data, we've had the full baseline, and now we have half of the second year neuroimaging data, which is around 6,000 cases. We've reprocessed everything to improve the EPI B0 correction using top-up. There was an issue in release 2 with Philips fMRI field maps, and we've corrected that, so that's all baseline and follow-up are available for Philips fMRI. And E-prime, some of the mismatches between the scan and the E-prime recording, we've been able to resolve a lot of them, and then ones which are unresolvable, we're excluding from the curated data release to ensure that there's no erroneous interpretation. We've added a automated post-processing QC metric for 3-surfer fMRI and DMRI, which is to improve our automated selection criteria of quality images. That's a really exciting process that we'll be reporting on soon in a short communication. We've added post-processing QC for fMRI as well now. And then finally, which is a really great addition in this release, is previously we had a recommended inclusion criteria, which listed several variables from which to filter down to get the best images that you want for that modality. Now we just put all those filters together into one flag saying, are they recommended or not recommended by structural MRI, diffusion MRI, fMRI. So it's much easier for people who want non-erroneous data to be able to just get that. When I say non-erroneous data, of course, there are some analyses that would like erroneous data for error checking or methods applications. So it's not necessarily what everyone needs to use. Just for the general analyses, you tend to use the recommended image inclusion flag. Extending on from this is our online data analysis exploration portal, or DEAP. And with release 3, we'll be doing population weighting. So that means once you've selected your subset of subjects to do an analysis, the population weighting will be able to weight it so that it's representative of the United States population, so that's more generalizable. Downloading data is easier, and batch analyses can be done simultaneously for multiple single variable analyses. About a month after release sort of in late 2020. One of the major advancements in DEAP is the univariate and bivariate twin analyses we'll be able to use using structural equation modeling via OpenMX. Longitudinal analyses in neuroimaging will be available, and we'll be improving ROI analyses and displays. So what is next? We have been able to secure a grant to investigate the impact of COVID-19 on our cohort. So of course, COVID-19 will impact mental health, physical health, education outcomes. So it's important to use these as covariates for being able to understand what is related to COVID-19 and what may be emerging psychiatric disorders at this age range around 11 and 12. So that's really exciting, and we're working on getting that information collected via phone. Magnetic resonance spectroscopy is collected at a few sites at the moment, a vast amount of MRS information, so that will be very fascinating for neurodevelopment and psychiatric disease onset. The ABCD Science Communication Forum, or the Wiki, should be out very soon. Due to coronavirus, everything had been sort of slowed down a bit, but I'm pushing to have that out very soon, and we're working on ways to have two-way communications with our science community. A year from now, Data Release 4 will be coming out, where we'll have all of the 2-year follow-up for imaging and up to 42 months of follow-up for non-imaging data. And we'll be including sub-studies as they come through. And what's really exciting that we've been working on is vertex-wise and voxel-wise analyses in DEAP. So you can do a free surf for like cortical analyses and get a brain map. So that's really exciting, and we've been working very hard on that for the last few years. I'd like to thank the ABC families and the children participants and the thousands of people that work together to get this together, and our federal partners. Thank you very much.